It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you here in the second day of the Economic Summit. I would like to welcome all the students, moderators, panelists to the stage for our second day panel session, Harrison Investment for Equitable Green Transformation in South Asia. The session will be moderated by Mr. Tom Baker, Economics of the Trade Investment Innovation Division, United Nations Economic Social Commission for Asia and Pacific, UNESCAP, Thailand. The panelists are Mr. Sushil Gewari, CEO, Investment Board of Nepal, Mr. Priyanka Somiwara, Executive Director, Board of Investment of Sri Lanka, Mr. Siri, Director, Investment Bhutan, Ms. Sriya Sukla, ESG and Net Zero Specialist, PI Green Innovation India, Mr. Mohit Singhvi, Associate Vice President, Sakar Innovation India, Ms. Tiffy Tong, Co-founder, CEO, Alloy Technologies Nepal. And I will hand over to Tom.
Thank you so much, Ayush, and welcome everybody. A small, intimate group. I think that's good for the discussion. Thank you so much to the South Asia Watch on Trade, Economics and Environment for the invite and the opportunity to hold this session and also bring investment onto the summit's agenda now. After we've heard so much about it yesterday, it's great to have a designated session on it. I will be very brief and just give some sort of background and framing for the session before we kick off the panel discussion. The general aim is to really explore niche subsectors and opportunities within the broader green field in South Asia, how to align ESG and SDG considerations in investments in the field, what regional collaboration on the government and private sector side could look like, and how to better integrate South Asian economies into green value and supply chains for that matter. Let me just start by giving sort of a brief overview on the greenfield FDI, foreign direct investment landscape in South Asia the past year. It's actually the sub-region of ESCAP that we cover, and we cover 53 member states from Turkey all the way to the South Pacific that has received the biggest chunk of investments in our member states, which was just above 80 billion in 2024 up until now. But this is largely carried by India, which is the largest investment destination within ESCAP's Asia-Pacific region that we cover as the UN regional headquarters, who received around 74 billion so far in 2024. And other than that, for other countries in South Asia, investment announcements targeting those have been rather stagnant since really 2015, 2016 when it comes to greenfield investments. So that's the sort of background. But as was mentioned yesterday by the EU ambassador to Nepal already, public finance is good and necessary, but if we don't bring in the private sector, we miss out on a large opportunity, and it's the necessity is there. And FDI is a very immediate form of finance because it doesn't provide the capital, but also the technologies and business models that can be transferred cross-border. So it's really a catalyzer for development and sustainable development as such. On top of that, FDI is usually the largest source of development finance actually to low and middle income countries, ahead of official development assistance and portfolio investments, and most years even ahead of remittances. So it's an incredible force, which we're going to discuss how to harness that, to tackle climate action. But the summit is about value chain, so I think it makes sense in the investment space to disentangle that concept a bit and break it down. So I mean, there are usually aspects and business functions and activities part of the value chain that are a lot more popular with policymaking as well as in the broader public, and thus they're more popular to attract investments in. But obviously, a value chain is only ever as green as its weakest link. And I think a case in point is that in Asia Pacific over the past 8 years, we've only seen around 6 billion invested in anything with a recycling business function throughout all sectors, which is falling severely short of a tangible amount needed to really make a difference in that space. But if we look at, for example, electric vehicle value chains, it really shows how diverse they are and how many opportunities there are along the way. Over the past couple of years, only 23 out of our 53 member states have attracted investments, any field and subsector related to electric vehicles, for example, and only 4 of 5 have really hosted a majority of the value chain needed for electric vehicle production. And overall, there are 40 different subsectors that investors have targeted in Asia Pacific that supported electric vehicles in the broader sense. And this goes from, mining to fasteners, adhesives, engines, batteries, recycling, and so on. So there were 40 different subsets of activities that investors have targeted in the region. So this goes to show the job's not done with electric vehicles, but there's a lot in this value chain that has to be green. But this is also a great opportunity, obviously, because this means there's 40 plus opportunities for countries to really look where they're competitive and where they can contribute to regional value chains. So, there is a bit for every country to really position themselves across that value chain, and that investors can also tap into regionally. So there's a great role for the investment promotion agencies and line ministries to really promote these bits regionally. And lastly, obviously, it was mentioned yesterday by the EU ambassador to Nepal, how the EU Green Deal cut 37% since 1990 in greenhouse gas emissions. And, the economies are still growing. I mean, that's one thing to discuss, but it's certainly no zero sum. And a recent IMF working papers also found that green policies, hard measures, have not come at the cost of investments in non-green sectors. So it's really just an additional revenue stream, opportunities to attract investments in, as well as, an opportunity to green non-green sectors, traditional sectors too. So today we really just want to get the dialogue going between some of our great private sector representatives that are working in those niches and looking to scale those internationally, as well as our representatives from government and the investment promotion agencies who have a mandate to bring in those investments into their countries. And with this, that's basically my talking for the day. Let's hear from our guests that have very kindly made the time and also effort in terms of traveling to come here and join us. So we'll start with a round of introductions so everyone can introduce themselves, as I couldn't possibly do everyone's titles and achievements justice. And then we have a round of 4 questions for everybody with around 4 minutes each. And that should give us enough time, hopefully at the end, if I don't intervene anymore, to have everybody respond to each other and also give the audience the opportunity to ask questions and engage in the discussion. So let's just start with a round of introduction. Maybe we go from Shreya over to Chimi. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I feel like a micro celebrity sitting among such accomplished peers today. All thanks to Tom and the wonderful team at SOTI. A little about me. I have to accept the privilege of being at the right place at the right time. I started working with the Government of India to restore a degraded coal mine to its original beautiful biodiversity. Then I worked with a municipal corporation from the city of Taj Mahal to plan their waste management and disposal, basically to reduce the landfill stress and ensure that the waste does not end up getting burnt. Then I worked with one of the largest cement companies in India, heading up their regional sustainable fuel division. There I took up the responsibility to divert 40,000 metric ton of plastic and hazardous waste from being incinerated and landfilled to be used as sustainable fuel in the cement plant. This basically reduced an yearly 15% consumption of coal at the cement plant. Then, after having learnt all of this, I headed up the ESG rating and consultancy division at 2 companies, one Indian and one global. And there my work was to basically drive green investment for the companies who were at the top of their game, who basically cared the most for their employees, customers, and the environment. Now I work for Green Innovations. It's a climate tech firm whose goal is to reduce particulate matter, which is the major contributor for the air quality index increase. And they also work to reduce the CO2 emissions. At Greens, I am heading up the CO2 reduction division, where we have developed an innovative carbon capture technology, and we name it the Net Zero Machine. And I also work as an advisor for a sustainable communication company called the Ethical Capitalist. Parallelly, I'm a trained classical singer and a tabla player, and I was fortunate enough to play along with Ustad Zakir Hussain too. And I perform regularly for the Government of India's broadcasting channel, that is All India Radio.
Thanks so much, Shreya. I'm afraid we have to squeeze everyone's achievements slightly to keep track of time. So if we stick it around, 30 seconds, a minute maybe, if that's possible. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mohit Singhvi. I'm an engineer, mechanical engineer and MBA. I've worked in different fields, facility management, port operations, logistics, and currently I am working with Chakra Innovation for the last 2.5 years. At Chakra, we are working on reducing emissions from diesel generators and developing newer products to reduce emissions from any type of diesel vehicles, as well as we are also developing something called aluminum air batteries, which will help us in our target for EV 30 at 30. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tiffany, and I am co-founder and CEO of Alloy. I have a background as a data scientist, and I worked in Africa, mainly with the World Bank, for about a decade. And afterwards, I co-founded my company, Alloy, with my co-founder here. Alloy is a financial technology platform that helps commercial lenders invest in grassroots entrepreneurs. So most of these entrepreneurs are in the informal sector. They don't have collateral, they don't have credit histories, and it's very hard to invest in them, even if they are in green sectors that we must invest in, such as electric vehicles or climate-smart agriculture. Our software is able to help these lenders monitor their investment, making sure that the usage of the loan is targeted at the purpose of the loan. So for example, it's a loan lent to a dairy farmer. The loan then can be used at dairy-related vendors. So the loan cannot be used anywhere else. It monitors the business investment, making sure that the ROI on the investment is there. In addition to that, we also help monitor the repayments of that loan to make sure it's more frequent and with more real-time data to monitor. So with all of this, we work with 28 financial institutions here, including 7 of the largest banks in Nepal, to channel green investments to make sure they are more inclusive and equitable, and also develops value chains, because you need the value chains to develop to the very last level. Thank you.
Good afternoon, namaste. This is Sushil Gemali, CEO of Investment Board Nepal. The Investment Board Nepal is the apex entity which looks into as an investment promotion agency as well as the PPP agency together. We also do the project development and the management in the PPP projects, and then we work on the attracting the foreign direct investment as well as the domestic investment. Before I joined the Investment Board Nepal, I worked, about the post-earthquake 2015 in Nepal. I was the CEO of National Reconstruction Authority, which was the apex entity to guide, to direct, and to implement the post-earthquake reconstruction in Nepal. I was the CEO, and then we have been able to implement construct the houses for the people of almost more than 800,000 houses in Nepal. That was one of the largest reconstruction program, housing reconstruction program that has been implemented in the world. So currently I am working as the CEO, and I think I will be sharing my views later on. So by academic part, I am an engineer as well as the city planner.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Priyanka Samaravira, Executive Director, Research and Policy Advocacy of Board of Investors Sri Lanka. BOI, which is the apex agency for promoting investment into Sri Lanka, we focus on attracting investments into identified priority sectors, including green investment. So we carefully assess whatever the investment that come to Sri Lanka, whether they meets the qualifying criteria that we have set forth. And we ensure that there is a favorable business environment for those ventures by establishing favorable and conducive policy environment, investment facilitation, and granting certain concessions. Green investment has been identified as one of the thrust areas, as I said earlier. Renewable energy is a priority area for that. And we have identified it as playing a key role in achieving sustainable development goals, specifically goal number 7 and the goal number 13. So we have included it into our corporate plan as well. So thank you everybody for giving us this opportunity to share our vision and our efforts and experience with you. And we are looking forward for the collaboration with this event. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chimisring. Currently, I'm serving as the Director General for Department of Industry in Bhutan under the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Employment. And Invest Bhutan, the investment promotion arm of Bhutan, is one of the divisions under the Department of Industry. And by academics, my background is agricultural economics, and I've served in various capacities in the Ministry of Agriculture, National Statistics Bureau, Department of Trade, and just now currently in Department of Industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. All your great achievements have certainly laid the bar for your responses very high now. I'll be asking 4 rounds of questions, split up into the government arm just here and the private sector arm over there. So we'll begin with our representatives from the investment promotion agencies, as a your chance to highlight what aspects and priority sectors you've identified and are targeting investments within the green transition. What are the sectors that have traction already in your countries, and what are those that you wish to develop or see great opportunity in, where investments aren't yet trickling in? Thank you. Let's stick it to 4 minutes, and I will tap on the microphone to remind you of the time. Thank you. We can start from Chimi and then move towards Sushil. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Bhutan offers a very unique investment landscape, and the foreign investment in Bhutan is guided by the Foreign Direct Investment Policy 2019, which is we essentially follow a negative list approach, a sensitive list, negative list approach, and investment in manufacturing and services are open. But however, based on the natural resources endowment and commitment to sustainability, we have prioritized few sectors. So these priority sectors are mainly renewable energy, IT and IT-enabled services, then agriculture, sustainable agriculture, forest-based industries, waste management and circular economy. So these are the priority sectors that we have identified. And of course, again, tourism and wellness infrastructure. Those are also priority sectors, which are basically green industries. So in terms of traction, I think the major traction that we had was in high-end tourism and wellness sector, as well as IT and IT-enabled services. So in Bhutan, these two sectors, I think if you talk in terms of percentage, 70% of our foreign direct investments are in these two sectors in Bhutan. When it comes to opportunities, I think we see lots of interest in terms of renewable energy and in terms of green hydrogen, production of green hydrogen. So what we are doing is currently Bhutan, we are developing energy policy as well as a green hydrogen roadmap So hopefully, once the policies and regulations are ready, we will be promoting investments in this sector. Thank you.
Yeah, over to Priyanka, please.
Thank you. And in terms of the green investment that we are promoting, here I want to highlight two areas mainly. That is, one is the green energy, renewable energy sector. The other one is the waste management sector. If we look at the renewable energy sector, I think there is a very big potential in Sri Lanka because being a tropical country, and other than the two monsoons, we experience a fairly very good weather climate condition that facilitate solar energy and of course the wind power. So if we look at the renewable energy portfolio within BOI, we have currently over 160 projects in operation. Most of them are in hydro power sector, and there is a huge potential in terms of solar power and the wind power projects. For example, we have identified over 20 acres of government lands belongs to government agencies with potential for producing 4,000 megawatts solar energy and the wind power energy. And apart from that, there's a huge potential for offshore wind operation projects, both fixed and floating. And floating solar energy is another area because we can say that there are a lot of natural water bodies within the island as well as the reservoirs, which provides an opportunity for production of solar power within those water bodies. And I want to share my experience regarding rooftop solar system. There's a success story with one of our investors who have entered into an agreement with government entities, that's two provincial councils in Sri Lanka, and they have established rooftop solar systems within those government entities in those provincial areas. For example, schools, hotels, hospitals, and provincial council buildings like that. They have established rooftop solar systems. So there's a very good demand in rooftop solar systems as well. So in terms of waste management, there's opportunity for waste management, waste to energy sector. Actually, there's another success story where one of our companies has engaged with the Colombo Municipal Council. You know that municipal solid waste is accumulating day by day. So there is a potential for them to convert that waste into energy, which has a potential for more investment in that particular sector as well. And another promising area is circular economy. You know, Sri Lanka is very famous for garment manufacturing. So we have waste generated through fabric offcuts and all those things. And there's opportunity for another success story that they have used these fabric offcuts to manufacture pallets and exports to China to produce vehicle and computer telephone covers. So likewise, those are the areas that we can highlight in as the available investment opportunities. And if I go by what are the potential areas,
quickly,
I think even though we have a very good potential for solar and wind power, there is a emerging demand in manufacturing green hydrogen and green ammonia, which is a very promising sector that we need to promote. And also, in terms of the circular economy, there can be a lot of areas that can use the waste of one particular company that can be a raw material for another company. So there can be a lot of areas in terms of the circular economy as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sushil.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Actually, in Nepal, the most promising the sector for the FDI and also domestic investment is the energy. You all know that the hydropower is one of the Nepal is one of the highest one, the largest the potential of the hydropower energy, and then we are working together with the different international companies and the investors for the production of the hydropower, and then mostly at the moment is from India. Actually, the hydropower that is being produced here in Nepal is the large market that is available in India. So there are Indian investors are working together with us and making investment in the energy sector, Arun 3, and there are different projects that are there. And the another sector is the tourism. You all know that Nepal is having a very very good natural landscape, the high Himalayas, and the high level of the biodiversity because of the altitude that we have. From the Tarai region, plain area, hills and the mountains, you can find the different microclimates in the different areas. And then similar to that, there is the diversity in the nature and also the diversity in the people and the culture as well. So we have the huge number of these the ethnic groups and the cultural diversity, and that is being linked with the tourism. So it is the potential for us to develop the tourism infrastructures, including hotel, hospitality sector as well, and also the Nepal is famous is in between China and India. This the huge economy. And from both, especially in India, there are the huge number of the tourism potential in the Hindu, the Pashupati temples and the other different temples, religious sites are available here. And for the Buddhism, the birthplace of Lord Buddha, Lumbini lies in Nepal. So there is a huge potential on that, and there are a number of the hospitality industry that have been booming, and then that is there. So this is another area of the investment opportunity that we have. Third area is the ICT in the recent years. Because we have the large number of economically active population, population dividend is with us, and then our young people they have now been educated, and then they are working in the ICT, and then working from here, and then have the different level of production of the softwares, and then the exporting on that. This is another area of the investment opportunity. And the fourth area is certainly the agriculture. Because of the climatic variation, there are the huge potential of the different types of the agriculture products that would be the potential is there, because water sources are there, irrigation possibility is also there, and at the same time the fertile land. So with this and the sunshine hour which it requires. So because of that, the production and the vegetable the agriculture sector is also very high. Herbal sector is another area. So these are some of the areas of the foreign investment that is being attracted by the private sectors. And the other one which we would like to have with the green component as well is the urban development, the city development. There is a growing populations, and the people have been migrated from the rural areas to the urban areas, the major centers, and then we are now planning to have the new city development or the city revitalizations. That programs are also on there. So, and then we are looking into from the green component and also inclusive component, the community engagement. And land pooling is one of the very important tool, I think, land redevelopment, the approach where the communities, they will also be benefited, landowners will be benefited out of that. So these are the areas of the investment opportunities that we are working, Investment Board Nepal is working together with the concerned level governments and the other government agencies together and the private sectors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jimmy, Priyanka, and Sushil. And now, as we're sort of looking to explore opportunities and the variety of the value chains. Maybe for our private sector, they can tell us how they identified their niche and sort of how scalable it is throughout the region to showcase how much traction these sometimes niche subsectors and business models can really gain in these green sectors and how important they are. Maybe we just continue clockwise, at least from my perspective, with Tiffany towards Shreya. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. It's very fascinating hearing about all the investment sectors, especially the ones that are aligned across, such as tourism and green energy. For us, we are a platform that helps with access to finance. And really the niche we see is the informal sector that is missing out on a lot of these green and FDI and big investments and moving towards a new green economy. Because of their lack of history, credit history, they cannot access these new opportunities. So for example, here in Nepal, we work in two sectors. One is in electric vehicles, and the other is in agriculture. And in electric vehicles, we help entrepreneurs that are buying small buses, buying electric scooters, electric rickshaws, to be able to generate a livelihood from that. So it's really important in terms of financial access, and why that niche is important is because, one, they are the consumers actually of the technology. So if we want any of these consumer technologies, green technologies to diffuse, we must help them access finance in order for them to be able to use these technologies, whether that's rooftop solar or building a new electric cook stove in an ecotourism sector, right? So all of that the investment is really needed. And then the second is that they're often the producers of any green products. So often in agriculture, they are the producers, and to ensure that they can use the latest technologies to produce higher premium crop products, such as organic or shade-grown coffee, all of that must have the appropriate investment. And therefore, the niche that we really see is to how do we transition informal sector entrepreneurs in these green sectors into more formal financing using technology and using data. So that's what our main goal of our company is. Thank you.
Hi, so what we do, how we do. So I'll have to go a little in the past, 2015-16. Yeah. So 2015-16, Delhi had the highest pollution levels that year. And our founders that time were studying at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. And that's when they decided that, we have to do something about it. And baby steps are what if everyone takes baby steps, we can do something. That's when they decided that diesel generators are a big polluters, especially in India, because even though we have sufficient power, but during the peak hours, the power requirement is very high, and diesel generators run at most places, and they pollute a lot. And our pollution regime has not been as strong because we started in 2000 only, the pollution regime. Before that, we did not have any kind of a pollution regime in the country itself. So we developed this product which does emission control for diesel generators. And from there, today, we are now developing products for any kind of diesel generators, for vehicles as well, and also working on electric vehicles. So not electric vehicles per se, but on batteries. So one of the takeaways for us in 2019 was that as a country, India, we had decided that we will have 30% electric vehicles by 2030. But then our dependence on batteries, we do not have lithium ion. So our dependence was on imports. So from fuel, petroleum, we were going towards lithium, imports. So that's when our founders decided we also have to work on some kind of, energy production for batteries. So aluminum air is the technology on which we are working. We are right now on technology readiness level 7. So commercial pilots have started, and in another couple of years we should be manufacturing in mass as well. Overall, the target, the vision of the company is that we take up problems which can help the world. So the products that we have developed are not just India focused or particular problem focused. It is also for the rest of the world that we can do that, and newer products, newer problems to solve also will be on what the sustainable world should be like in future. Thank you.
So, ironically, whenever we talk about startups, we have a criticism to make. And the criticism is that businesses in general, or even the startups, they're not addressing the problem, the actual impending problem of the society. And whenever we ask the same people to name a few startups, interesting, innovative, and creative, they will always end up naming food, tech, D2C brands, and fashion, which are all great. But again, none of them are solving the impending problem of the society, that is the survival of the planet. So unfortunately, that's what makes climate startups a niche sector. And that's the area that I work in. When I started my career, I selected it because it was not trendy and it actually creates an impact, a positive impact on the life of every single human being on this planet. So I focus my energy while working in two ways. At Pi Green Innovations, we have developed this innovative carbon capture technology which captures CO2 from the industries and it does not allow it to escape into the atmosphere. And by using the principle of circular economy, it converts the CO2 into a usable raw material for different industries. But developing a solution is not enough. We have to make sure that we make it sound interesting and relatable and approachable for the general public, investors, and the government. We have to make sure that while discussing our impact, we are not using difficult jargons and technical acronyms. And that's what exactly my friends at Ethical Capitalist are doing. Here I will take the example of a company called Carbon Cure. It works in the CO2 removal space. And now they have two ways of promoting themselves. First is the very traditional approach. They can say that we are removing thousands of tons of CO2 from the atmosphere annually. Or they can say that we are removing or destroying the pollution from the atmosphere, which is equivalent to 2,000 cars roaming in the streets of Kathmandu every day. Doesn't this sound interesting? So my point is simple, that we have to make our impact in a better way. We have to tell about our impact in a better and interesting way. Now, talking about scalability, climate tech industry is the only industry that develops products which affects the life in a positive way of every single human being. So we have to remember that whenever we talk about impact, we have to say that it's actually making the world a better place to live in. And if you see that Tesla is the biggest company in the world, and it also is in the climate mitigation space. So climate tech industry is as scalable as the human population. And if we talk about funds that are available in the market, you just have to go to the investors and you have to convince them, telling about your impact, that it is actually making a positive impact on the life of every human being. And I'll be reading some numbers here so that I don't go wrong when I talk about funds that are available. Stanford stands at $1.1 billion. Breakthrough has $1.1 billion. Low carbon, it stands at $600 million. Circulate Capital, $200 million. Frontier has already made an advance commitment of $1 billion. And this has all happened in just the last 5 years. And I'll give you examples of some scalable companies now. Climeworks, it stands at an evaluation of $1.2 billion, while GoodLeap, it has $12 billion in the last 5 years. And why do we need to go so far? We can talk about our peer sitting here, Mohit from Chakra Innovation. Chakra is not even a decade old, but it's already a multi-million-dollar company.
Thank you, Tiffany, Mohit, and Shreya. And I think now that we've heard what government is focusing on and the opportunities within which our private sector panelists are moving, I think all of this is sort of meant to, we can compare, we see how aligned the priorities are and where we're moving as, I think, which yesterday made quite clear too, is that the public and private sectors need to work together and be somewhat, on the same page. So then to be a bit more practical to our three IPA representatives, if you're looking for investors in the green sectors you've just mentioned, what type of investors, what type of companies are you really looking for? How do you vet them? So how do you identify your investors and how do you target them? Thank you. Let's keep the same movement from Jimmy, Priyanka to Sushil. Thank you.
Of course, as I've mentioned, we have priority sectors which are, guided by the development philosophy that Bhutan follows, essentially gross national happiness. So the gross national happiness, we aim to foster balanced development through sustainable socio-economic development, preservation of culture, conservation of environment, and good governance. So these are the 4 pillars that we try to achieve our economic development through these 4 pillars. And essentially the gross national happiness, we try to advocate or uphold holistic, sustainable, and inclusive growth, and that prioritizes collective well-being of our citizens over material growth. So these are the guiding principles that that has influenced the priority sectors in trying to identify the priority sectors. And also in Bhutan, by constitution, it mandates that Bhutan should remain 60% forest cover, should have 60% forest cover for all times to come. So these are some of the national agenda that is influencing foreign direct investments as well. So when it comes to targeting the investors, so of course we have our priority sectors. So what we try to do is we try to identify potential investors. Like we had a project with SCAP trying to identify potential investors in digital economy. So this is work in progress. And also, we try to identify and attract investors through the roadshows. For example, in January next month, we are organizing a roadshow in India in 3 cities, Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. So we are collaborating with the Confederation of Indian Industries, Indian Industries, Confederation of CII in India. So essentially here also we are trying to focus, what we are trying to do is we are focusing on 4 areas: tourism and wellness, IT and IT-enabled services, agro-based industries, and forest-based industries. So what we are trying to do is we have business private sectors where they have already submitted their interests. So we have shared these projects with the CII, and CII is going to bring in potential investors from India who will be interested in these projects. So this is how we approach. And of course, at the government, or when it comes to big projects, hydro projects, it is currently done in intergovernmental arrangement. But as I said earlier, we are coming up with the energy policy whereby private sectors as well as foreign companies can invest. So this is how we are trying to attract investment as well as target the investors. Thank you.
In terms of Sri Lanka, one of the key tools that we use to identify investors are the comprehensive market research and lead generation, which will be done using global databases on company profiles. And we assess our priority sectors with the company characteristics, and we identified the potential investors therein. But regarding renewable energy sector, we go a step further because we have a renewable energy development plan with the Sustainable Energy Authority of Sri Lanka, where they have identified what are the potential areas and potential locations for renewable energy projects. So we call solicited proposals for those particular sites. And if we received unsolicited proposals, we also direct them to the Sustainable Energy Development Authority and facilitate from the very beginning to the implementation of the project. And regarding the investor targeting, we focus outreach efforts through webinars and investment forums, as well as the inward missions as a collaborative efforts with industry associates, embassies, and other agencies. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, in our country, actually, we have one framework that we call the Green Resilience and Inclusive Development Framework, which have been agreed upon among all the development partners who are supporting Nepal and the government of Nepal together. So that is one of the basis for identifying the green projects. Secondly, the Sustainable Development Goals is one of the integral component of our periodic plan, the national plan. For example, at present, the National Development Plan, the 16th plan that we call, it is having the integration of this grid framework as well as the Sustainable Development Goals together. So the projects, whatever that we take for the foreign investment or any investment through the private sectors will be aligning in that direction. So to achieve the private sector's investment goal that we have, that will be directed into that direction. So projects are being selected on that basis. So the green projects are coming up through that framework. Secondly, the project appraisal criteria that we have, it is related with the environmental considerations and the green components considerations. We appraise the project from that perspective as well. If they will screening through that framework, only then we'll be taking those projects ahead for the investors to come. So through this, the green components have been ensured. And to have the identifying the investors, we do the investment summits. In the recent past, around 6 months back, we had the Nepal Investment Summit. Generally, every 2-3 years, we do that, and then we request all the investors to come, and then we present, we hear from them what are the major sort of challenges that they have, and then the legal and policy hurdles that they have, and we would be trying to make the amendment in the policy and the legal framework so that they will be able to come up on the projects which will be having the green components itself. Actually, in Nepal, most of the projects itself, they are having the green components. For example, if we talk about the renewable energy hydropower, it is itself the green energy. If we talk about the tourism, without protecting and the conservation of the nature and the culture, we cannot have the tourism in that level. So we will be trying to have that, and then it will be ultimately having a component on the green sort of framework on that. And we do consider the projects which are either solicited, which will be announced to the private sectors to come on, or the unsolicited, where the private sector have their own innovative ideas, the knowledge and the expertise, or the innovations by themselves and the investment they would like to make. But we adopt the Swiss challenge so that the competitiveness is not being compromised. So through this approach, we are working together with the private sectors, identifying the projects for the investment in the green sectors. But one of the challenge that we face actually is for making the projects green. We need to have the extra investment for that to have the conservations, to have the protection, and whatever sort of the green component is to be considered. So for that, how to have the viability gap funding, because private sectors will not come, the investors will not come until and unless there is a bankability, there is a profit, they will not come. They would like to see the return on the investment. So to make it ensuring on the return on the investment, we have to have, when we think in the green component, sometimes those projects cannot compete with the other projects which are not considering the green component. So we have to have the equal level. For this, we need to have the viability gap funding. But in this part of the world, in the South Asia, actually, when you talk about the BGF, there is sometimes the huge level of the debate will be coming. So we need to find out the way on that. And on this, I think the special sort of the funds that have been established, the Global Climate Fund or the Environment Fund or whatever the funds that are available to support for the green projects, I think there is a need to have an easy access for this for the countries like us, so that we will be making the project viable, even in the situations that we choose the green components in our projects. So that's the approach that we are taking. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think this is one of the core questions, right? How do we make these green projects appealing, in crafting a compelling business case while also having them contribute to the sustainable development? But I think, we have 3 brilliant case studies here to show that it's not maybe always as difficult as it may seem. And it's also good to see that, a lot is being done proactively in the 3 countries here to attract those investments. And now that we've heard the priority sectors and what's being done to attract companies in them, let's go back to the companies and see if there's some alignment in terms of what you see and in opportunities in the space in South Asia, beginning to think more regionally, not just what you're doing, but generally what you see in the space as opportunities, and some of the low-hanging fruit in tackling the obstacles to invest cross-border in these fields in the region. This can be a policy level. This can be platforms for dialogue, such as the South Asia Economic Summit. Thank you so much. And again, let's start with Tiffany, Mohit, and Shreya then. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Definitely very much agree with what Sushil just said about green investments often having a green component that requires extra investment, right? So for me, the low-hanging fruit or the missing opportunity really is how do we direct that green part of the investment to have multiple impacts and to be able to track that impact and to be able to report that impact and then brand it and market it. So thinking from our own company's direction, how do you monitor investments into, for example, if it's forestry, we work with some community forestry user groups, and they're growing spices like turmeric. How do those investments into growing forestry can be listed under green investments and fulfill those criteria, engage last mile micro-entrepreneurs, local level farmers, and be able to monitor all of that impact very cheaply and be able to report on it in real time using technology and data, and then package all of that as a branding opportunity to attract investment, especially if we're talking about increasing ecotourism, all of that, those impact including increasing forestry cover, for example, or using solar power to power guest houses, all of that can be part of what attracts further consumers and investments. So for me, that really encapsulates how one study, it says that there needs to be about $4 billion per year in investment into informal sector enterprises to grow in terms of climate technologies. So actually these enterprises are able to use these technologies to generate livelihood, and they're able to increase the access of these technologies to the local level, but they're really just lacking the trust in that investment. So for me, that is the opportunity to be able to both do good in business and also to invest in multiplying that impact.
Yeah, so coming back to 2016, when the air pollution went high, so because that's where the entire story of Chakra Innovation came in, and that's how we had grown as well. When the air pollution went very high in India, National Clean Air Plan was formed, and this is where the government push actually helped companies like us, Pi Green and many more, to thrive in India, to come up with products And so what National Clean Air Plan said was that we have to reduce our, improve our air quality by 30%. Now, we are a growing economy, all of us are growing economies, and to even maintain the level is difficult. To bring it down by 30% along with so much urbanization and industrialization is very difficult. So you have to take very harsh steps to do that. So a lot of areas were identified. Diesel engines were one of them. So and regulations were made over there. It took 2 to 3 years for those regulations to come into practice. That how a product should be, how it should be tested, certified, and that's where products like ours could come in. Last year we were finally able to do like a 15 million turnover. So now it's a big enough product for us where it's no more a test tube product. It is commercialized. We have seen the life cycle of it, how effective it is in reducing particulate matter from the environment, and where else can that technology be used. So now we have passed that, and coming to South Asia side, as I said, all of us are growing. We all have targets to grow by 8 to 10% of the GDP. Not in your case, sir, you are in happiness side. So you calculate very differently. But typically 8 to 10% is all of us trying to grow, for which there will be a lot more industries, there will be a lot more buildings, construction, vehicles running around, new cities. So emissions will keep going up. So this is probably the time where we can also interact with the other countries in South Asia on how sustainably we can do that. So we would like this has given us an opportunity also to interact with you all to show that what all can be done to develop in a very green manner. And the other products also that we are developing, they are in test tube right now. As they come, they would also be one more area where which probably governments should take cognizance is R&D. So there's a lot of R&D which you would be doing in your countries. All the countries are doing. Many companies are doing. There are hardly any synergies over there. Even within our country, I can tell you, we have hundreds of labs. We do not even know where to test, what kind of test to be done. So sometimes you have to run around and find out where that test can be done, where the equipment is available, because that's also a very big investment. Labs, laboratories, etc. to test. So there are a lot of synergies can be there in South Asia, and this can help us all grow together. Thank you.
So South Asia is an exciting space for green investment, and there are tremendous opportunities available other than the solar and the wind energy. So there are two key areas to focus upon which will give us high impact results and quick deliverables. The first one is waste management. Waste management is an easy pick because South Asia produces 70 million tons of waste annually. And this waste can be categorized into plastic, metal, glass, municipal waste, etc. And this is an untapped potential. So let's say if a company comes in Kathmandu and wants to set up a material recovery facility with an investment of $1 to $3 million, then it can process and sort the waste of the entire city and also generate revenue in 3 ways. The first, by segregating the glass and the metal waste because it can be sent for recycling and then it can be reused. Second, biodegradable component can be converted into high quality manure, which can not only be sold domestically but also exported. Third, the leftover waste, that is the non-biodegradable component, and we often term it as refuse derived fuel. It can be sent to the cement plants for co-processing and the industry boilers and brick manufacturers for heat recovery. And having said all this, waste management has the biggest advantage of being self-reliant. Unlike the other sectors who may need cross-border collaboration and imports. Because for the waste, it is available locally within the city. There is no need for logistic imports and the labor also. So it is quite self-reliant and independent. Now, the second area is carbon dioxide removal, which is quite new and an interesting space. So for this, I will be taking example of Sri Lanka. There's a place called Nuvara Elia. There, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. It has the perfect weather conditions and altitude for the process of capturing CO2, and it's called enhanced rock weathering. Also, Sri Lanka is surrounded from all sides by oceans, which makes it a natural reservoir for the CO2. So, if we establish CO2 removal firms there, it will position Sri Lanka as the global leader in the CO2 removal space. And I would love to collaborate on this with Ms. Priyanka to explore the commercial and the regulatory potential. And now, there are tremendous opportunities, but there are also obstacles which need to be addressed. And thankfully, some of them can be fixed quickly. First is policy fragmentation. So in India, we have Invest India, which guides us in green investment. But something of this streamlined structure is missing in most of South Asia. So a visit to MRF facilities and joint ventures with the existing Indian players would be helpful. Second is bridging the infrastructure gap. So we can take an example of Tata Power here. It has established 50,000 EV charging stations across the country, and it has bridged this infrastructure gap while energizing sustainable mobility. And third is the missing regional collaboration in supply chain. We all know that Tata Chemicals is setting up the largest EV battery manufacturing hub in South Asia. So if the regional players come along and some of them supply lithium while the others help in assembly, so it will be really great. So the point is simple, that by joining these dots and coming together, sharing our resources, expertise and technology, the potential can be tapped.
Thank you so much. And now that we've heard from our IPA representative what their priority sectors are and what they're doing to attract investors, maybe we move away from this investment promotion side slightly and go back to what Sushil mentioned about the nexus between being green and profitable, and look at the policy side. So what business case can your market offer investors in this space, and what policy developments and other support measures do you offer, or your ministries offer investors in this space? Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. On the policy front, again, we have collaborated with SCAP. We started the review of the FDI policy 2019. So here, essentially what we are trying to do is we are trying to make it more investor friendly, as well as trying to align with the international standards. So this is in progress. So essentially, few things that we have tried to, among others, few things that we have tried to do is trying to streamline and make the registration as well as the licensing processes very simple. So that is one. The other one is the foreign investors. We provide them with investor cards whereby they can, reside in the country as well as move freely, exit and enter the country freely. So currently, the investors are, the validity of these investor cards are just 1 year. So now we have enhanced that to 3 years, as well as the free exit entry will also apply to the dependents of the investors. And the third thing is, in the past, the investors, they had been complaining about access to foreign exchange when it comes to repatriation of their dividends or import of machineries and raw materials. So this is also taken care in this new revised FDI policy. So these are some of the things that we are trying to do. And also at the same time, the foreign investors or the companies, FDI companies are, we give certain financial incentives, for example, when they import raw materials or capital goods, they are exempted from sales tax or customs duties, as well as in some priority sectors we give them, income tax exemptions. So on the policy aspects, these are some of the things that we are trying to do to attract foreign investors. And when it comes to services, the Invest Bhutan division, we try to facilitate as well as support the foreign investors in all aspects, from pre-licensing to post-licensing services. And also to attract foreign investors, what we're trying to do is we Invest Bhutan as a division, we facilitate in terms of giving free business guest visas. I think everybody knows that it's difficult to come to Bhutan because we have, as a tourist, it's quite expensive. But for businesses, and especially when it comes to foreign direct investment related, if somebody wants to come on an exploratory tour or to do some feasibility studies, we facilitate by providing business guest visas, whereby they don't have to pay the sustainable development fee which the other tourists have to pay. So these are some of the services that we provide. And when it comes to attraction, I think, as I said, Bhutan offers a very unique investment landscape. Unique in the sense that our agenda is more driven by the well-being of the people as well as the environmental aspects rather than material growth. So therefore, I think especially when it comes to investments, or when investments, be it domestic or be it foreign investments in terms of manufacturing and services, we have a very strong environmental, regulations in place, whereby the investors in manufacturing as well as services, they have to, before they get their license, they have to get an environment clearance. So whereby if it's a very big project, they'll have to do an environment impact assessment study, which sometimes takes for almost a year. Of course, these are some of challenging for the investors, but nonetheless, if we want to move to green economy, I think these things are essential for your country, I think. So probably my time is finished, so I'll stop it there. Thank you.
In Sri Lanka, we encourage investment to almost all the areas of sectors. We allow up to 100% foreign ownership, except for the bond brokering and coastal fishing and retail trade less than 5 million. And we allow 100% repatriation of earnings as well. And to facilitate investments, we grant enhanced capital allowance, which is enhanced capital allowance beyond the capital allowance, that is double the capital allowance, it will be 100 to 200% depending on your investment and location of the project. And also a couple of import duty leviers, again market orientation and the investment threshold. So when an investor comes to Sri Lanka, the first point of contact is the IFC, that's Investor Facilitation Center, where the investors are guided with all the requirements, what are the relevant line agency approvals, how they can fill the applications, and all those facilitations are provided in a single point. We call it a one-stop shop. And if an investor, and if a particular investment requires a further intervention, we have Investor Facilitation Coordination Committee, which is summoned based on the requirement, or else 2 weeks' time, every 2 weeks' time we summon this IFCC, which is chaired by the Secretary of the President at the high level committee, where all the relevant line agency, top level line agency representatives are there, and we try to sort out whatever the issues the investors are encountered. And if that particular investment requires a policy intervention, we have the cabinet subcommittee chaired by the President to resolve such sort of issues. And also there is a partnership finder database hosted in BOI Sri Lanka website, where all the startups, researchers and potential investors can get together, and they can form, they can share the proposals and enter into some sort of agreement on business ventures. And regarding the facilitation, we provide online visa recommendations to our investors, and these investors can have 5 years visa granting facilities there, depending on their investment. And also all the import-export items are, those things are automated, and that's a paperless system is established. We also have a green channel facility for identified top performing investors who compliance with the requirements of the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka. For them, we grant without physical verification, only 10% of their items will be verified physically, and other than that, they are provide without physical verification, they grant the import-export facilities. So those things are available with BOI Sri Lanka to facilitate investors from the very beginning of submitting their application throughout their project lifespan with BOI. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, the incentives and the policy interventions for having the green investment in place, that one of the area that we have to think is the incentives. What incentives that the investors will be getting while they will be making the investment on the green infrastructures. So we have adopted the various tax incentives for them. For such type of the investment when they are making. For example, we have given the incentives in the special economic zones. If they will be establishing the industries in the special economic zones, and if they are more export oriented or import substitutions, and also adopting the green components, then they will be getting more level of the tax incentives. That is one way of promoting the investors in the green infrastructure, the development. Another part that I think we have to work together with the UN agencies and also all other different agencies who are supporting for the awareness building among the people. Because ultimately, whatever the products that will be coming up, it will be ultimately going to the people, and then if the consumers will be buying those, then that will be much more feasible and bankable, and the investors will be interested to make investment in those sectors. So we have to also work together for the awareness building among the consumers, among the people, and then that will happen again if we can have the incentive structure also for them as well. So that is another area that I think we have to work together. Actually, when you think about the project, the investment and in the green projects, then ultimately how we design the incentive structure, it is through the economic return, which will be to the total society as a whole, to the total people as a whole, as a country as a whole, where there will be economic rate of return. What is the benefit to the health, for example? What is the benefit in the environment or the society? That is to be quantified, which will be giving you the economic rate of return. And that will be designing the incentive structure. Whereas the financial rate of return, which will be related directly to the cash flow and then that will be the return to the investors, and they will be looking into that, into their the return on the investment. So we have to have a balance on that, and then we can design the projects which will be having the green components and the green infrastructures. And the second part, actually, the another thing, that aspect that we are working in Nepal is the one-stop service center, through which the investors are getting the facilitated on this, and then they will be getting better services on time. That is also, though it is not the financial incentive, but this is an incentive on the facilitation side, which will be this the save their time, and then they will be having getting the revenue this in the early time. So these are some of the areas which we are thinking, the working on the policy incentives for the investors that we are working on. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So now that we've got the background, how government identifies their investors and what they're doing in terms of policy and support measures, let's just check in with our private sector, and maybe we can have a little wish list in terms of what you'd like to see from investment promotion agencies and governments that help you, scale across South Asia, invest abroad, and facilitate investments in your businesses. Thank you.
Yes, definitely agree with a lot of the points that were mentioned. Actually, our company is also through foreign investment, so our headquarters is in Singapore. So definitely agree in terms of bringing in investment into Nepal for us in the tech sector. Of course, from our perspective, it's if the government across the region is more involved in promotion of innovations, especially in technology, that has a lot of aligned market opportunities in other countries or in other value chains. So that for us would be tremendous reputational support in terms of a company starting out and then scaling and then gaining those clients outside. In addition to that, I think another potential could be mechanisms such as carbon credits that require a lot of coordination and a lot of investment really to help bring access. So in our case, there's a lot of micro entrepreneurs that are in EVs and agriculture that could potentially benefit from these carbon credits, and through our technology we can track them. But because of the how hard it is to really get access and to prove that, it's been very hard to bring that impact down to that level. So I think those are two main ones. And then the last one is in terms of investment in technologies and also through us investment in loans in micro entrepreneurs, there's a lot of institutional lenders such as DFC and others, FDIs that are coming in. And I think the promotion of new sectors or technologies that can help with those investments and monitor them would be very, very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll take an example and explain the wish list. So suppose Chakra Innovation decides they have to go to country X and invest over there, in the sense that not just export their products but also set up manufacturing there and work over there, as well as try to solve problems over there. So if we go to country X, it is of course our technology going there, what we can do with that technology, what other technologies can be developed there. So first and foremost requirement would of course be a long-term vision of that country. So of course, thanks to net zero, everyone now has a 30-40 year long-term goal, because it cannot be done in short term. But typically most countries have a 5-year, 7-year plan. For us also, we also have investors who have invested in the company. So for us also to invest, as in put up a plant in another country, we will have to see those geopolitical issues as well before putting it there. Second, compliances and regulations, even from tech point of view. So that is also very important for us. So if we go there, if we have to change the entire tech, cars moving from right to left is also a very big change. Just to give an example. Third, of course, is all the things that the representatives from each government have said, that from the tax benefits, compliance, making it easier for compliances, single window assistance, etc. That is that will definitely help us. Otherwise, I know that in our country itself, in India itself, 15 years ago, if someone had to invest in India, it would have taken them 1 to 2 years only to get all the compliances in place. So this would be typically our wish list, and from a long-term vision, it is very important for us to assess a country where we would also want to go and try to bring in our products and also make products for those countries. Thanks.
For me and my company, Pi Green Innovations, we start with one thing: policy clarity. So let's be real. European Union CBAM, it's quite great in theory, but it lacks the actual impact because it does not have a clear roadmap and commercial value attached for businesses who would wish to adopt to green transition. So what we need is a holistic approach, and if these solutions are commercially viable, adoption will fall in place. And CBAM impacts $20 billion worth of India's exports. That's a huge amount. But there is no financial incentive for the Indian companies to comply with it. So the first and the foremost point for us would be government support in the form of low interest loans, tax credits and subsidies, something similar to India's PLI scheme. Second is the regional collaboration. Why? Because we share the same ecosystem, common river basins, same air, and of course the melting Himalayan glaciers. So if India has taken the target of having the renewable energy of 500 gigawatts by 2030, so if similar policy is adopted by our neighboring countries, that will be really helpful. And of course, governments could collaborate and set up a shared renewable energy grid by tapping India's solar power, Nepal's hydropower, and Bhutan's wind energy. And the next important point is green financing. So if we talk about greenfield FDI, it amounts to $150 billion. And if we talk about India alone, it amounts to $60 billion. But if we look at the neighboring countries, it does not even account to $1 to $2 billion. So what we need is the governments to earmark funds, something similar to what India has in the name of National Infrastructure Pipeline, which has a value of $1.43 trillion with green investment initiatives. So, and the next support already required is governance. Like in India, we have a body called Niti Aayog. It hires top-level researchers and scientists who dedicate their efforts, and they have been able to make India take a leap from 2 gigawatts of solar energy to 71 gigawatts in just the last 10 years. So similar type of governance structure is required in the neighboring countries. The last and the very important point is infrastructure and startup support. So I'll take an example here. One of my friends, he wants to set up a carbon dioxide removal firm. He would prefer a country which has the least amount of red tape and faster approvals and clearance processes, and the one who will give him monetary incentives in the form of low interest loans, tax credits and subsidies. And of course, so all these points combined together, this will help private companies like us to convince our investors to believe in our expansion dream and collaborate abroad. And also to add, recently India has come up with the carbon market policy, which will be activated from 2026 onwards. And we also have particulate matter control policy. So if similar policy adoption takes place, this will encourage us to collaborate and expand further.
Thank you so much. This was great. And now that we've sort of gone through what priority sectors are within the green economy from our IPAs, what they do to identify investors, and what they offer in terms of policy and a market for those companies and investors to thrive, as well as from the private sector, you know, how to identify niches within this broad field of being green, how to craft a compelling business case, and what type of support they'd like to see from government. I'd like to move to sort of a bit of a brainstorming session, beginning with our IPAs on what room you see for inter-IPA collaboration between your countries and other countries in South Asia when it comes to attracting investments. How would you collaborate? How could you coordinate your efforts? You know, also resonating with some of the things our companies and investors have said. You know, where do you already see synergies? But yeah, so how could this look like? This is particularly interesting for us to take on board too. And maybe, you know, yesterday we've heard a lot about reinvigorating the SAES process and whatnot. So I think this will be an interesting exercise. Let's just start with our IPAs and Jimmy first, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. When it comes to regional cooperation, I think a lot has been discussed yesterday in the plenary as well. And looks like many of us have given up, you know, like SAARC is defunct. I still remain optimistic. I'm sure there will be a time, you know, where we will be compelled to again revamp and activate the SAARC. But nonetheless, having said that, I think if you're talking of cooperation between IPAs, I think there are lots of, if we are not able to take the SAARC path or South Asia regional cooperation path, probably we could do it bilaterally as well. You know, the countries could come together, and as we discussed, like the ASEAN, they have a coordination committee, investment. Coordinating committee on investment. We could adopt similar, you know, whereby we can collaborate and try to promote intra-regional investment, as well as try to promote our region as the investment destinations. I think these are, and I think South Asia, I feel we have very rich and diverse culture. We have rich and diverse natural resources, biodiversity. So these are some of the things that we could leverage on, you know, in trying to promote investment, be it intra or be it, you know, encouraging investment from outside the region. So we need, I think there are lots of opportunities, and hopefully we can collaborate and then, you know, promote our region as an investment destination, I think. And of course, I forgot to mention that we have a huge market as a region. So these are some of the opportunities that we have. Thank you.
In terms of collaborative effect, one thing I can highlight is the collaboration in regarding the regional financial institutes. For example, we know that there is in ASEAN there is a ASEAN Catalytic Green Finance Facility, which enhance the regional collaboration in terms of financing this green investment projects. So similarly, we within the SAARC countries, if we can have some sort of funding for this development of green infrastructure, it would be an ideal situation. And this funding could be developed through maybe co-funded by the regional countries, or maybe from the donor agencies like World Bank or ADB. And even the green bonding can be some sort of an way of developing this funding mechanism. Other than that, I think that we need to have a collaborative effort on R&D as well as capacity development. This should be for both the professionals that decide on the investment projects in IPAs, as well as the investors that are targeting to develop in green investment project, for example, green hydrogen or green ammonia, those things, we need to have more research in place and more capacity development. Another area that I can highlight is to have a collaborative infrastructure, something similar to this BB initiative, where they have joint infrastructure facilities, which can perhaps expand to other countries as well, especially in terms of cross-border electricity trade, because we have a huge potential in all of our countries, maybe solar, maybe wind, or maybe hydro. So there is a huge potential of generating renewable energy, so there should be a way of trade in this electricity generated. So that would be another area that we need to have a collaborative effort.
Yeah, in regards to the regional cooperation among the IPS and also among the different governments again, yeah, in that regard, we can think different areas of the collaborations. For example, we have to think from the benefit perspective or the risk perspective. If you look into that, let's say between Nepal and India, we have the rivers flowing from Nepal to India. Yeah? So there is a huge potential of the hydropower, as well as if we will be having the huge level of dams for the reservoirs, then that will be having the downstream benefit. So how to quantify those benefits, yeah, or how to quantify the risks associated with that, then through that approach we can have the collaborations of the investment on the projects that will be in the regional level, that the cooperation that we can have, and we can make an investment on that line. Because the environment itself is will not see the boundary, yeah, of any country, because it will cross. If the carbon emission is there, because the carbon emission in this region is being the depleting the glaciers or the snows in the mountains in the Himalayas. So I think the whole humanity in this region, in the South Asia continent, will be suffering from that. Actually, this is the major source of the water for the fresh water of this region. So if it is going to be depleted, then it will have the impact not only in Nepal, it will be having the impact also in the people in the Gangetic plain, in the whole in the overall in India. So how we can work together on that? I think we have to find out the ways and then make the investment on that. Sometimes we see that the Nepal is being penalized because on the mistakes that it hasn't made. Yeah. So how I think that's on that. I think we have to work together, and then how we can find out the ways so that this environmental sort of a degradation that is being happened because of the different development activity that is taking place in this continent. We have to think on that. The zero carbon sort of these agendas that both the different countries have come up, I think it is really good. Nepal has announced this by 2040, ahead of the 5 years, the zero carbon. So we have in the same line actually. So how we can really collaborate on that? I think on this the investment promotion agencies can also work together, and then have the collaboration or the coordination mechanism or certain cooperation mechanism where the UN agencies can also support, or maybe we can also work together. We can have that. So that's why it's ultimately the loss, but for the not doing, and then the benefit that by doing certain sort of the interventions, whatever that we are making. We think if we can think from that perspective, then we can find out the solutions on that. Maybe in that approach we can work together. The regional cooperation will be important in that aspect.
Okay, thank you. That's very interesting. And with that, I'd hand it over to our private sector participants. How that sounds, or what other coordinated efforts you would like to see that be helpful, and maybe then another part of the question also, how and in what areas you as companies can better complement supply chains throughout the countries that are collaborating, and how to draw upon their different competitive advantages. Thank you.
Yes, definitely agree with the coordinated promotion. I think it's really important. One side that I see is, as a technology firm, we're constantly talking to technology investors. And I think the promotion of the region as a technology talent and powerhouse is really important, and it's going to attract significant investment and perhaps the different countries have different advantages, and that can be promoted. So I think from that perspective, building a brand, again, related to technology innovation and talent and developer talent, for example, is really, really important from my perspective. In addition to that, I think in terms of green finance or investment, essentially as a destination for investment here that can improve the green side of development, but also will impact the world, right, in terms of the Himalayas melting or coordination like that. So I think that side of the promotion in terms of what this means, in terms of what this investment can bring about for the world is also really important. So from my side, that's the two main ones.
So just a food for thought, we are all trying to do something for net zero, but there are hardly any solutions. So we are again copying from West and something which is not even proven that, this is what we have to do for net zero. South Asia is one of the oldest civilizations in the world. The solution is between us. I mean, we can find the solution for that. And just a joke, any Hollywood movie that you see about end of the world, at the end of the day, everyone is coming to Himalayas. So the solution is with us. We can work out together. I think the coordination that you said, because it cannot be the solutions that we are trying to develop, which is just a copy paste. Our region is very different. The materials available here are very different. We will have to come up with solutions which can reduce carbon requirement for us. So from cement to steel to any other thing, what is required for industrialization, urbanization, we need solutions for that. So a lot of R&D, as I had said earlier as well, a lot of coordination on that is required for us to, actually become a net zero area. Thanks.
So it's cliche, but it's the only way, coordinated efforts. And especially in businesses like mine, which focus only on carbon capture, durable carbon removal, and climate communication, we often face challenges like policy fragmentation, lack of awareness, and inconsistent investment flows. So one of the areas I'd like to see expand is setting up a climate change communication platform. It could be established in South Asia as a central hub, and we can think of it to be as a climate action PR network, which will create content in local language, visually engaging formats and relatable analogies, and so that the public, it can relate with it and understand how these solutions are impacting their daily lives directly. And this is something which ethical capitalists would love to do if the panel members agree here. And another innovative idea I'd propose is launching up a climate communication Shark Tank on YouTube or live, where people can come and buy the tickets. And it would be a government-backed event which could happen once in each quarter, and it could rotate between the different countries, so that different technology startups, climate tech startups, they could come and pitch their solutions to a panel of industry leaders. And the winners could get free PR, investors, and the money that has been collected from social media and the tickets that were being sold. And if we talk about particulate matter, a transboundary air pollution agreement could be beneficial. And so if we see SAFAR system in India, it tracks the real-time air quality monitoring. So something of this sort could be established as a region-wide platform for countries like Nepal, Bangladesh and Pakistan, so that they get to know about their pollution levels and collectively work to tackle those. And if we see the financial incentives and the collaborative funding that is happening in the green or the clean energy space, then South Asian green economy is expected to grow at a CAGR of around 12% by 2030. And we already have green climate incentives for the developing countries. So if we tap that and launch something similar for South Asia as green funds, that will be really great.
Thank you so much. So this brings the sort of question round from our side to an end. And I thought it was really interesting to see, what is being done, what the IPAs are doing, and what the businesses would need to scale and invest abroad. And I thought it was very encouraging to see that there was actually a lot of alignment already, to harness investments for the equitable green transition in South Asia, draw upon different countries' competitive advantages, and how to find and carve out new niches across the value chains that are being promoted and the private sector is operating in. And also interesting to brainstorm some of the ideas for regional collaboration. That is all very well noted, and I hope to keep the conversation going on that with all of you. Other than that, we're really doing brilliantly time-wise, given that we started a bit late. So I think we could, squeeze it for another 5 minutes if anyone wanted to ask any of the panelists a question. And other than that, we would close. Yeah. So, okay, someone's coming.
I'm Chayan Sharma, and I'm from the Confederation of Nepalese Industries. My question is, I think, a very simple one that first of all, I think I must thank all the panelists over there. My knowledge also has increased a little bit sitting over and listening to all of the innovative things that you are doing. So my question is, when we talk about climate change, global warming, and we are talking about energy, you are talking about hydrogen, carbon capture, all these things. So how can we convince a common person who is struggling for survival, who is working for his daily bread, to contribute towards this area where less pollution is there and less whatever, like we have talked about. So how is it, where can we do this? Because of course we are talking about industries, we are talking about, at the high level, people are now becoming conscious and things like that. But at the ground level, where lots of these pollutions do go on, and even in terms of profit-wise, business-wise, for example, sometimes when you are walking on the streets of Kathmandu, a bus will come and who will throw that black foam right into your face. Now, how do we convince things like this that, okay, it's time that, you take this to the garage, you sell it, and then move on to EV or whatever. So what can we do to reduce such things? Thank you very much.
So I can...
Yeah, anyone, any of you.
The last part, maybe I can give an example of that. Like the technology from DG set now we are doing for commercial vehicles. The same problem you said, trucks, buses, etc. But the problem is there is a life of the vehicle, right? 10 year, 15 year. In India, the life is given as 15 years. What we are asking the government is to increase the life by 3 to 5 years. So if someone is reducing their emissions, they should be allowed to run that vehicle for 3 to 5 years more. So if they have a vehicle which is not polluting and there is economic sense for the person to keep using that vehicle, it is loan free by that time. First 3 to 5 years there is loan, then it is loan free. So they are earning more. So it is a win-win for everyone. So in India, for example, similar to Euro 3, we had BS3. BS3 vehicles and BS4 vehicles, Bharat Stage 4 vehicles, are about 97-98% inventory of the vehicles in India. We have moved to Euro 6, but that has happened in the last few years only. So about only 2 to 3% vehicles are still only Euro 6. So the inventory, the total number of vehicles which are emitting that black smoke is still very high. And the problem is right now. So net zero we are trying to solve by 2045, 2070, 2050. Each country has taken a target. Air pollution levels are not waiting for those many years. So we need immediate action, right? I can tell you like what happened in Delhi. Kathmandu AQI is also going up to 200 is what someone told me today during the event. That few days it goes up to 200. So the solutions are there. The problem is we come up with a solution only when a problem comes up. So the solutions
Basically,
are there.
it is the policy, right?
It is
At the
the
policy level.
It is the policy level. So at the policy level, if it can be done, it can help. Common people, like even at policy level, garbage segregation. So that can be done. There are many things which can be done. But again, it is a lot of policy decisions. How do government treats it after being collected, and how the PR is being done, how it is being promoted and incentivized rather than being penalized. That's how it can be done.
I'd love to add to that too, and we actually face the similar problems in terms of the lifespan of vehicles here in Nepal. So we work in the electric vehicle sector here, and one type actually that has been around for almost 30 years is an electric minibus called the Safa Tempo. Very simply, the drivers wanted to change from a lead acid, like an old technology battery, to a lithium-ion battery, because it actually makes economic sense. It's a longer lifespan, about 5 years instead of 1 year. And then also the cost is about half if you calculate the number of years. But the most problem they couldn't do that was because they didn't have access to the larger level of loan. So the level of investment that we're willing to give access to informal sector entrepreneurs, normal everyday people, is really, really important, because with the larger access to finance, they're actually able to buy better technologies that last longer, make their livelihoods more efficient and able to earn more, and to participate in the green economy rather than having to use old technology. So again, it's a policy level actually. If there's guaranteed funds that would help these entrepreneurs access loans, then the banks would now trust them, right? So to be able to have those kinds of mechanisms in place is really important.
If no one else wants to have a go, I think we can do one more if there's one, yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashutosh Kimiri. I'm a student of economics, and building on Tiffany's point on making green finance inclusive to everyone. So in today's context, we already have issues in making general finance accessible to the rural population and the marginalized communities. So the question I want to address to the panelists here is, how can we minimize this gap and extend it to green finance as well? How can we make rural entrepreneurs who are serving the rural communities and involve them into our broader framework of South Asia? And the second question that I want to ask is, what are the current policy issues that are in South Asia that is genuinely causing a roadblock in harnessing green finance, in making this a more sustainable future? And I would also like to ask the questions on how can we incorporate technology and using modern tools like artificial intelligence in extending this further in the future. Thank you.
I'd love to jump in here. Definitely agree that these are all needed. And I think that what is actually needed is to make the invisible visible. Informal sector entrepreneurs right now and rural entrepreneurs, a lot of them are invisible to the existing system right now. So how do we use technology? How do we use data? And how do we actually use policies and whatever we invest, whether that's training, whether that's support through NGOs, all of that recorded in a trustable database so that it's visible now. And therefore, other institutions can come in using existing methods to invest. So that's actually the biggest question mark for us. And I think a lot of people are working on that question. And I would put that towards our government bodies also in regards what can be supported in terms of that.
I couldn't get the question, like a roadblock for...
Yeah. So, what exactly are the existing policies or legal frameworks that are causing a roadblock in, extending the idea of green finance and making it towards a sustainable future? So, what are the existing policies that are like sort of causing a roadblock? That's not letting some people act on certain things that helps in boosting green finance.
Probably I could talk from the perspective of Bhutan. I think, by the way, Bhutan is a carbon negative country, so we are lucky to be, but nonetheless, when it comes to financing, I think, first of all, I think it depends on the resources, financial resources that your country has. I don't know whether, can you afford to finance green financing? Can you prioritize green financing from other priorities? I think that is one. So therefore, I think the resources, financial resources that the country has plays a big role. And secondly, when it comes to policies, I think one of the biggest challenge in Bhutan, I don't want to generalize the region because it may differ. One of the biggest challenges, first of all, it's very difficult to get access to finance because of collateral requirements, things like that. And the second one is the interest rates are quite very high. Like they pay anywhere from 9% to 15%, so which is quite expensive. For big industries, this interest rate may not make a difference because by the sheer size of their business. But when it comes to SMEs, I think this capital cost is very expensive. So for Bhutan, these are some of the challenges that. Thanks.
I think on that actually, for the rural entrepreneurs to support, I think one of the approach that was adapted but not been successful in that level. But I again think that is needed is to provide the access to the finance to the people, the entrepreneurs who will be working, interested in working or doing their business in that line. Actually, in the past, there was one integrated subsidy guideline that was announced by the government where all the commercial banks, they have to put a certain portion of their fund for providing the financial support to the local entrepreneurs who will be on the not on the basis of the collateral but on the group guarantee or the community guarantee sort of things. So I think we have to do on that line. That's one area, and the second area again to provide the technology to them. And again, another sort of the gap hurdles that we face is we are not having the proper level of database to identify who are the real sort of the incentive that we have to provide, the subsidized sort of the financial access to be provided to them. There is a need. I think that is one of the hurdles that we have. We have the fund here in the national level, but how to have the linkage with the local, the grassroots level, that is very important. On that, I think now we have to adopt the access of the local governments and the ward level, the government agencies, how to link on that, how to have the program that is announced at the highest level be linked through these mechanisms. I think we have to work on that. And then in the context of Nepal, I think it will help. And then we can go ahead on that approach. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think we need to clear the room. But I mean, feel free to continue the conversation informally. Also noted on your question, I'm sure you can catch the panelists around if they don't mind, and continue to the discussion. Let me finish the session officially and thank all of our panelists for taking the time, for coming to join us and for their great contributions. And thanks all of you for joining too. I hope it was informative to shine light on the investment side of things. Thank you so much, and you may attack the tea break. Thank you.